John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Serious testing, successful hunting. I love testing broadheads. I love testing all kinds of gear, and recently I've really gotten into testing bows. I love testing different bows. I'm really fortunate to have a great bow shop really close to me here in Des Moines, Iowa, Archery Field and Sports, and they carry so many of the different flagship bows that I go there and I test them. Maybe you saw my 2020 bow battle. If not, check it out, video here of all the different bows that they carry. I also have a bow shop a couple hours away that carries the expedition bows, and I have a friend that owns that bow shop, and I've gone up there to test their bows in 2019, 2020. And recently I was reached out to by a guy who works in the R&D department at APA Bows in Canada. His name's Paul Gutek, and he asked me if I would be interested in testing out an APA bow. And I said, yeah, why not? I've heard about APA, but really didn't know that much about them. Unfortunately, there's no dealer very close to me. I think the nearest one is in Michigan. So he offered to mail me one and allow me to test it for free and then mail it back for free. And so hence I got one and I'm ready to test it. But I learned a little bit about APA in the process. And in case you don't know, they're the only bow company that's manufactured out of Canada. And so they do their bows in Canada, but many of the parts of the bow and some of the assembly is done in the United States as well. Nothing is done outside of Canada or the United States. Nothing's done overseas. And they have a really vast array of bows, from target bows to all different speeds bows. They have the fastest bow that there is right now. I think it's 370 feet per second. And so they have all kinds of different bows that I just didn't know that much about. And then another thing about them is that they're known for like all the different stuff, the unique stuff that's loaded into their bows. They pride themselves saying that there's no other bow like them, okay? There's none like them, and I think they're really right, okay? After looking into this and testing it out, I haven't seen any bows like this. Okay, so the one they sent me is their specialty bow for backcountry bow hunting. I do a lot of backcountry bow hunting, Colorado, Montana, and other places, and I'm really into lightweight, super maneuverable, great bows. And that's what this one is designed to do. This is designed to be like if you're going up into the mountains chasing sheep or goats or elk or muley, and you want something light and maneuverable that can fit on your back and not like bump against things as you sit down or so forth as you move around, or on your back as you're on a horse, or easy in a little side case in a horse, or just lightweight to be able to carry in the backcountry. Man, this is like hard to beat. It weighs only 3.6 pounds. 3.6 pounds, and it's got a 28-inch axle to axle. And not only is it 28-inch axle to axle, but the cams themselves are so relatively small compared to others because they have this dual cam system that the overall length from the tip of the cam to the tip of cam is really short too. I think it's the shortest that I've ever seen. And so when you hold this bow, you feel like kind of like you're holding a toy, only you know it's really good quality, and it feels like really good quality. After hiking miles and miles with a really heavy pack in the backcountry, this would be a joy to have because it's just so small and light. In addition to that, all the APA bows come with this handle, and it's like some of the Hoyt risers. It also strengthens the riser itself. It makes it super stiff, and that's one of the reasons that APA is the only company to be able to offer limbs in the 90 and 100 pound range as well, because they have such a strong, stiff riser. It can handle that, and this is part of the reason. But beyond that, it's got this grooved grip for carrying. So if you're just like carrying a lunch pail right there, if you're carrying in the backcountry, you know how important it is to have a comfortable way to carry your bow. Man, you've got it right there. It's really nice. Okay, so the specs on this, 3.6 pounds. The IBO on it is 350. So 350 feet per second. And in addition to that, you'd think if you're generating that kind of speed, you're going to have a really small brace height. But no, the brace height on this is a full 7¼ inches. So that's pretty astounding in my mind as I look at different bows and test a lot of different bows, to have the forgiveness of 7¼ inches. and yet generate the speed of 350 IBO in a tight little package like that, you go, man, how do they do that? Well, the way they do that is largely with these limbs. Okay, so you see that it's got this single piece limb right here, and then it splits right here. Normally, when a bow's limb splits like that, the only flexed portion of the limb is the solid part, and then the rest doesn't flex. But they figured out a way to engineer this to where the entire limb, even the split portion, actually flexes. And so that allows more energy to be stored and generated right there in the limbs. So what you're not getting from a super short brace height, you are getting from the limb itself. And so that's pretty interesting to see that. There's all kinds of other features that, I mean, it's hard to even remember all the other features to explain here. One of them is this cam lock technology. If you notice here in the cam, there's all these little holes. And what those are for is you can just unscrew or you just loosen this bolt, pull out this cam pin. It's just like a small pin, steel pin. And you can put it in these holes, like you use your feet, you can pull the bow back a little bit, and then you just slide the pin lock into those holes, and you, in essence, have created a bow press. So from there, in the backcountry, without any kind of tools, you can actually change out all the cables and strings, or you can work and change out the peep sight, or you can twist the cables. It's really nice to be able to do all that with its own kind of built-in bow press, or no bow press needed kind of adjustment there with their cam lock. Additionally, they have this rotating string stop, which is really unique. I've never seen anything like it. It's got a really firm back wall, but with this little mod looking thing right here, you can actually adjust it. It comes with a factory setting, which I really like, but just with the loosening of this Allen wrench bolt, this Allen bolt, you can just change the feel of the back wall pretty significantly right there, just based on how you like it. So that's cool. Then it's got the limb dampener there. They come, like all the APA bows, they've got this thing they call the fang, okay? And that just is a great way to be able to hang your bow. It's handy in the backcountry or so forth. They've also got this little bushing right here, and you can order the bows in a package that has a nice little bushing to slide your GoPro in right there and attach it directly to the bow. That's cool. I don't know of any other bows that do that. In terms of the finish, they come in all kinds of different finishes, but beyond the finish that they have this thing called soft touch. And after the limbs and the riser are dipped in their various colors, then they're spray coated and baked with basically like a thin layer of a rubber truck liner. So you know those truck bed liners that protect the truck from, all kinds of spills and damage and stuff? That's what they have all over the bow. So it gives like a bit of a tacky feel, which is really nice. Protects it from bug spray, ruining the finish right there, or other chips or something. It's an extra protection, as well as it just helps silence the overall riser and the bow itself. So that's pretty cool. Then they have right here in the roller guard, they have this tunability, this micro tunability built into the roller guard itself. I've never seen anything like this. And what it is basically, you can, like I said, even without a bow press, you can twist the cables and get like a 1/2 inch twist if you're doing the tuning that way. But sometimes you want to make a finer adjustment, but you can't twist the cable a 1/4, or you can't twist it an 1/8. But here with this adjustment, you can. In essence, you can twist it an extra 1/4, an extra 1/8, so to speak, and you can make those extra fine adjustments in the tunability. So that's pretty novel and cool right there. Then in addition to that, they have kind of a built-in stabilizer, if you will, that just this balancing system that comes in all their bows. It's attached to the cable guard itself, and you can rotate it out away from the bow to provide a lateral stability to offset like your sight and your quiver over here. You can rotate it out this way. You can also slide it back and forth. So it's kind of like an extra built-in stabilizer. Of course, they have the bushings for stabilizer in the front, the rear lower bushing for stabilizer down there as well. And then they've got this toolkit. This is unique to APAs as well. They have a knife sharpener built in. It's basically the G5 knife sharpener, if you're familiar with those. These little carbide plates that are there that you can pull a knife through and sharpen, or a broadhead. So if you want to sharpen your broadheads in the field, no need to carry an extra tool. You've got it built in right there. Also, you got a broadhead wrench to torque down your broadheads or loosen them up, and a knock wrench to do the same. Oh, one other thing is right here, they have this built-in little place to put your sling. So you don't have to attach it to the front of your stabilizer. That can be a pain because your whole sling comes off when you're loosening up the stabilizer. But here you just loosen this little Allen bolt and you can attach the sling right in there to the riser itself. Here I am at Archery Field and Sports, favorite bow shop in Iowa, and I'm shooting the APA Mamba 28 MT. Let's see how it feels, the draw and everything. Okay, that's not the easiest draw in the world. Okay, I'll be honest, it's pretty stout. And you wonder, like, okay, where do you get the power? Because the brace height is at 7 1/4, and yet it's generating a really good speed. And you can feel in those limbs where they're getting the power. Okay, that's a pretty stout draw. It's relatively smooth, has a little bit of a hump, but it is pretty stout. And it's pretty jumpy too. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It forces you to hold back all the way, but it's pretty jumpy on the letdown. Yeah, it's hard to pull. And it's got a great back wall, and I love that back wall. That's fantastic. Has an 80% let off. Wow, surprisingly little hand shock for a bare bow and this light. Man, I expected it to have a bit more hand shock than it did. That shot actually really nicely. Now I'm going to shoot it with a decibel meter and see what kind of noise we're getting here. There's certainly an amount of ambient noise in the shop, but still we'll be able to get a pretty good reading. It was 89.8. I'm really grateful I had the opportunity to test the APA Mamba 28 MT. There's a lot that I really like about this bow. As I summarize the things I like and then the things that I don't like, here's how I would do it. First of all, what I really like is the feel. The grip, the ease of carry, and the maneuverability, the lightweight. Man, those things for a backcountry bow, which is what this is designed to be, fantastic. I can't think of a bow that's ever felt better in my hands than this one. It's really top tier. I also really like some of these technologies. The cam lock thing that I outlined earlier, that's really cool. And the fine tuning and the roller guard, really cool. All the little extras in their toolkit, I really like that as well. So some really unique technologies and pluses in that. The things that I don't like so much, first of all, and most significantly, the harshness of the draw. Okay, it's really harsh. Okay, when you pull that thing back, I mean, you feel it. I understand why it's that way, because they're giving you the forgiveness of a long brace height, and they need to generate that speed, so they do so, and it really makes for a hard draw. It can be overcome because, on the one hand, you really want extra speed like that for a backcountry hunt, for long shots on big animals. But for shooting year round, I could never shoot it at the 70 pounds with this harsh of a draw due to my shoulders and so forth. But I would just crank it down. I'd crank it down to like 62 or so, and then it would feel, kind of more like a normal bow. And I could do that year round. And then when it came time for the season, I'd crank it back up and have that extra speed for those long shots. But it is pretty harsh like that. If I compare it like to an SR6, my SR6 generates the same amount of speed, and yet the draw is like extremely smooth. Now, it doesn't have as forgiving of a brace height. So there's a trade-off there, and everything in a bow build is a trade-off, right? The other thing that maybe stands out as something I don't like so much is the short axle to axle. Okay, again, a trade-off. I like it in terms of the feel and the overall maneuverability and carryability and stuff like that. But it's not going to be as forgiving on those long shots as a longer axle to axle bow. Now, the longer brace height may make up for that a bit. It certainly would make up for that a bit, but still you're dealing with a short axle bow, and that's something to consider. And again, like everything in archery is a trade-off. So some incredible pluses, some cons, some negatives to think about. No bow is perfect, but it's really worth a look. Okay, I'm really grateful that I had this opportunity. I wish there were more APA dealers in the States that carry these bows so the general public could really get a feel of how cool they are. However, I do understand they have this neat test drive program that you can order a bow, they ship it to you, you pay for it, and then you can like play around with it and try it, shoot it as much as you want for a week, for 7 days. If you don't like it, you can send it back and get a full refund, and you're just out the shipping. So that's really an interesting way to market it. I don't know of any other company that does that. So it's nice to have that flexibility. If there's not a dealer around you, you can just order it, try it out, buy it, see if you like it, send it back if you don't. So APA, the Mamba, pretty cool bow, worth looking into.